Another thing I brought up about the apostles, actually, was that they might have just been delusional. Like I said with the magician thing, they might have just been under false impression. And he responds that, okay, it's possible they were delusional, but every Christian on the planet being delusional, come on. What are the odds of that? To this, I have a response for him, and it is the definition of a delusion based off of dictionary.com, and probably several other sites that paraphrase the same thing. Delusion, a fixed false belief that is resistant to reason or confrontation with actual fact. Okay, so let's break it down in order. A fixed belief, that's religion in a nutshell. I don't think anyone's going to deny that. Religious beliefs don't change. A false belief, we'll get into that in a moment, that's resistant to reason. In other words, it's illogical. And come on, religion is not logical in any way. Noah's Ark, man living in fish for 3 days, God coming to earth as his son who is himself, and then having himself killed so he could redeem his imperfect creations, so his son who is himself could be sent back to him in heaven. I don't think we have to really argue about the logic of that. Then it says, or in confrontation with actual fact. The way I interpret an actual fact is something that is as real, empirically, as anything else. In other words, this is the remote control for my camera. I have no proof that this actually exists that I can convey to you. I could have just, photoshopped this in, basically. This could be entirely special effects. But then again, I could be entirely special effects. So, you really have no reason to doubt this because it could be as real as I am. So unless you want to doubt everything that you see, then you might as well just assume that this is real, empirically, because we can perceive it. There is no way we can ever perceive God. And it's very convenient that religion is set up like that, isn't it? Something that you can never, ever, ever see, yet we're supposed to believe in it absolutely. But anyway, so it's in I think religion is in confrontation with actual fact because there are no actual empirical facts to back up anything religion has to say about the divine. So what have we got? Fixed belief in confrontation with actual fact. It's illogical, so that's 3 of the 4 things, and it has to be false. So let's just say God is real. I suppose that wouldn't make that many Christians delusional, would it? Because, their beliefs are justified. But let's just say, hypothetically, that God doesn't exist. That would make every Christian on the planet delusional. So, if you want to say, what are the odds of every Christian on the planet being delusional? I'd say they're equal to the odds of God existing. And we can debate the odds of God existing from dawn till dusk and never get anywhere because there's no way to judge the odds of such a thing. But at least you can probably see now that it's not as unrealistic as you used to think. The last thing I wanted him to comment on is, let's just say Jesus was resurrected from the dead in his tomb, alright? I asked him, where did Jesus go? And he said Jesus appeared to his followers and announced that he wasn't dead. And then I was like, well, I didn't know that. I haven't read the Bible cover to cover. But let's just say he did. It's obviously, empirically impossible to prove, and it's obviously just based on eyewitness testimonies, so I'm not going to believe it anyway. And then he says, which is exactly what I was wanting him to say, then he went up to heaven. Then he went up to heaven. Let's just say this, my fist, is the earth. This is where Jesus was, okay? So, right there, that's where Jesus was. And then he went up to heaven. Do you know where he is now? Outer space. Heaven is not up. The Bible was written in a time when the universal model was such that heaven was literally up. But now we know that it's not. We can go as high as we want and never find heaven. So, I ask you again, where did he go? Did he literally hover up into the sky? In which case, didn't he just die again when he got into space and suffocated to death and got blasted by solar radiation? Or did, a dimensional rift open up and then heaven accepted him into it? Actually, the final comment of the video itself that I commented on was the fact that he thinks that, I don't know if he still does, he said that free will is the cause of suffering on Earth. That ideally, God's planet would be fine if not for humans with the free will to disobey him and cause suffering. So I pointed out to him, politely, that humans haven't been here forever. He's not a young Earth creationist, so fortunately we don't have to debate that issue. But, humans haven't been around since the dawn of time, and for as long as this planet has been around, there have been earthquakes and volcanoes and tsunamis and death and suffering and pestilence and disease and infanticide, matricide, and cannibalism for as long as there have been animals. So, I asked him, how can free will possibly be the cause of suffering if before free will there was still suffering? And he did something I really respect and is so rare in a Christian to see. He said, I don't know. You did the respectable thing. You chose not to try to chase the tail of an illogical argument. You chose to say, I don't know. And I respect that. I really do. So I'll leave it at this. Although you personally don't fully understand the naturalistic explanations for the complexity of life and the origin of the universe and whatnot, you must at least understand that they posit themselves in such a way as to exclude the necessity for a God. So let's assume for a moment that God does not and never did exist. A lot of things seem to make a lot more sense that way, don't they? I mean, like the existence of suffering, the existence of evil, the imperfection of all things, entropy. All those things would make a lot more sense if the universe wasn't designed by a perfect being, wouldn't they? That's a question you should answer for yourself. One last thing I'd like to touch on. Amazing Libertarian, I like you. You seem like a smart kid. It actually shocks me that you're not an agnostic or an atheist, because you're liberal, you're pro-gay marriage, you like ripping on people who take the Bible seriously, you don't take it seriously yourself, but yet you call yourself Christian. But, like I said, you admit your own ignorance, and you admit when you don't know something. And you're always begging people for video responses and debates. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm willing to sit down with you and talk to you about these subjects that you're not aware of, because I've read nonfiction books on the subject, and I'm not an expert, but I'd consider myself informed. So, I give you my word, if you approach me with an open mind, and I approach you with an open mind, we can actually have a debate, and then we'll see where that leads us. I'm offering this to you. You may accept or decline if you choose to. That's all for this video. I am Born in Asphodel Meadow, and I will see you guys later. Subscribe to me, and I will give you my eternal soul.